Hello everyone, I'm Thomas Wooden Railway and I've got some more new Thomas & Friends Wooden Railway items to unbox. This is a brand new set that as of the making of this video has just appeared on the Fisher-Price website in conjunction with the Celebration Engines pack, which I just recently reviewed. And this is a hybrid set of a couple of things that have already been released. Most notably, it features Cranky the Crane, a special version of Thomas, a decent amount of track, but then kind of like two loop areas that tie it all back together, and we get a few crossover sections as well. So like I said, this item as of the making of this video is exclusive to the Fisher-Price or Mattel shop. I'll mention this, when I purchased this item, there was free shipping over $50, I believe, and this set, I believe, retails for $99.99. So I'm really excited and pumped up to unbox this. I'll try to spin it around as best as I can. If you watch the Celebration Engines pack review that I did, you'll notice it came in very similar, I guess, brown packaging. Feels very minimalist, and that is because this is an online exclusive item. It is not intended for regular commercial release or in retail stores, so it is a-okay, I guess, that it's kind of, I wouldn't really call it boring. I actually really like the design. It's like silhouettes of the engines, and you can look for their numbers, like Percy and James and Thomas, and 12 would be Emily, 18 is Nia. I actually think it's really well done, but in terms of the outside of the box, there's just not a lot to talk about, and I know people want to see the set inside, so let's dive in. Just really quickly on the bottom of the box, I wanted to point out a couple of interesting things. The copyright date on the bottom of the box is actually dated 2023, and it's also the same on the Celebration Engines pack that I just looked at. I find that a bit interesting, which makes me to believe that both of these items were designed in the previous calendar year. That makes a lot of sense for the Celebration Engines pack, because we saw leaks of that picture almost a year ago. It was October of 2023. This set, however, its history is a bit abbreviated. This picture of the set did not pop up until a few months ago, and people really didn't know if it was legit or not until, I mean, less than a week ago, really, when it went on for sale on the Mattel website. And another thing I'd like to point out that keeps with that date is there is a stamp in this section right here that reads 10 of 2023. And that would, align with the date of October 2023. So I think it's very possible that these items were designed or, maybe intended for an earlier release than we actually got them, just based on a few clues that are on the outside of the box. I'm going to assume that the camera doesn't do it justice, but this is a very large box. It's pretty close to being square, and the longest length or the longest side on the box is probably between like 18 or 20 inches, and it's about 6-7 inches deep on the bottom here. This came as a surprise because I saw pictures from other people out there who have received this set, and one that stuck out to me was a picture from my buddy Jay Louvier, who had the box sitting on the ground, and I don't know if it was just the angle he had it or the perception or whatever, but the box didn't seem that big, which came as a surprise because there's a decent amount of track and items included. However, looking at this box in person, it is a very big box, and it's also surprisingly heavy. Which is really nice that there is that free shipping element to the item as of right now, because I'd say something of this size and this weight would cost, quite a bit to ship somewhere. So I'm super excited to unbox this item. And yeah, I think they've done a really good job with the space management on the inside here. Really excited to dive in. But it's hard to tell from my current angle. There's a really nice picture of Thomas and Cranky on the back of the box, or the inside of the box, I should say, and I want to show that off a little bit more. This artwork is really awesome and fantastic. It's a little bit tricky to show off here because it's on the inside of the cover of the box, which does not really want to stand up. However, it shows Thomas with some cargo cars passing through the docks with Cranky there. You can even see the apple orchard in the background. I actually really like this this piece of artwork right here. Thomas's face is a little bit funny. I think there's a little bit of All Engines Go influence on this picture, but for the most part, obviously, it harkens back to the day of what I would call classic Thomas and Friends with the models and the CGI series. I think this is just really well done, and I kind of wish it was somehow removable, like it was designed to be a poster of some sort. It's something that I would like to keep, but with similar to the image that was on the box of the Celebration Engine set, you're going to have to do a good job of keeping it in good condition because it is attached to the inside of the box, which may be a little bit tricky. So if you happen to buy this set, don't exactly tear into it right away if you want to keep this piece of artwork here. Otherwise, feel free to dig right in. My only concern is that I bought these items together, and so they came in a bigger box, but if you buy this one separately, it's going to ship in this box, and hopefully your box does not sustain any damage, nothing pokes through on the other side to damage this beautiful image. This set, I think, has a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to unbox it. We have a nice set of directions here, which are printed in color. For a while there, I think it was, what I remember, it was mostly, I know it affected Wooden Railway, but I remember seeing it with Trackmaster stuff at the time. The instructions were not in color, and when it came to actually, like, you know, putting the set together, it was just a little bit hard to see, and so I'm glad they've come back with you know, fully color printed directions. It's just kind of a nice touch. It kind of bumps up the quality in my opinion. And I do believe all of the instructions with other 2022 Thomas Wooden Railway items have also been printed in color, but this is still a very nice touch. This part right here actually reminds me of the it's the top of the, I think it was like it's like the Fossil Run set from way back in the day. That's kind of what it reminds me of, that like piece of track at the top that you would, it was exactly this, it was a circle. So this is not a completely new piece in my opinion. I think there was definitely some inspiration from that. This is one of the turnaround points in the set, and it appears to be, it was somewhat connected to Cranky right there. So Cranky is in his abbreviated state. The original release of Cranky came with Bulstrode and also some type of hook or claw that made it easier to pick up items. Off the top of my head, this appears to be the same Cranky from that set. I wonder if there was like a surplus of Crankies or something and they're trying to get rid of them. But I'll take a closer look at this in just a little bit. It also comes with this kind of, for lack of a better term, like landing area, docking area, where if you want, you can take those screws on the side and actually attach Cranky to this nice piece of wood that has some engrooved track in it, which I always thought was nice. So really it looks like besides the extra piece that goes with his magnet there and Bulstrode, you basically have a version, a really nice complete version of Cranky here. It looks like the other turnaround piece, which this appears to be like the apple orchard piece, is at the top. That is some really nice printing and detailing here. It looks like there's a duck pond. We have some apple trees. The one at the top here, I guess, is more supposed to be for the docks, I want to say. Looking at, yeah, the pieces, I didn't really take the time to look at this, but yeah, I think it's supposed to be the pieces. It looks like there's even a road section here, which is kind of unique. And then at the top of this box, we have, looks like the pieces of track, which may be attached. I don't know how much luck I'm going to have actually getting them out of their little space here. Okay, cool. So I believe this, yeah, this, I will kind of spoil the news here, but this Thomas does have an exclusive expression, which is really, really nice. And something I was going to bring up, if you look at that picture back there at the very, very top, there are some boxes covering Thomas's number, and I thought that was a weird choice, but it looks like it's because this Thomas is supposed to mimic, the image is supposed to mimic this Thomas, which has a box with the number 1 on it. I actually think that's really clever. We also have some cargo cars here and some pieces of cargo. I will unbox these in a moment when I get a better view. And then, looks like a lot of the smaller pieces of track are included in this area here. We have some connections. Are there some Thomas wood connections? Yes, there are. So even though we've moved on from wood for the time being, we still get some wood connections there. What you may not have seen, I had some buildings topple away when I first unboxed this. So these are the little buildings that I think are supposed to kind of go in those those circle areas for their respective locations on Sodor. So we have the apple orchard one, and we also have the Sodor shipping company. Really impressive that this whole set fits in this box. Let me do a little bit of cleaning up and we'll start to put it together. I'm sure everyone is super excited to get a better look at the Thomas and the cargo cars included in this set, and really so am I. It sounds a bit weird, but when the pictures of this released, I just kind of glanced over them and didn't really take the time to actually look and see like the pieces of cargo or even the colors of the cargo cars included or anything like that. So this is my first time, really, taking a nice slow look at things and actually digesting what we've been given here. I mentioned this in the Celebration Engines pack review that I did, that, it is very, very awesome to see that we are getting, different designs and facial expressions with these engines, because I think that was, a huge plus for this line, the way that they're made. The fact that the faces are somewhat molded, but like not really. You could easily stamp on a new smile or different eyebrows or something like that. So it makes me feel really good that we are actually seeing, that put into practice, and we're not letting it go to waste. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is sort of a hybrid set because it features, probably the biggest part of the set is Cranky, which we've already seen released. I'll have to do a deeper dive and then take a closer look to see if that Cranky is any different. I don't really think it is. But at least, I think it kind of makes up for the fact that we're getting, special pieces and expressions and different variations of Thomas than we have so far. If this was just strictly a re-release of everything we've seen before, I wouldn't be that impressed with this, but there are some exclusive items, and I think that's why you would want to buy this set, even if you already have Cranky, for example, or Thomas or something like that. Let's take a look at Thomas here. So on the one side, okay, so this was kind of the this is, I think, what I noticed. One of the promo pictures I saw, I think, just featured this side of Thomas, and so this other side with the packages was a bit of a surprise to me. So I actually really like the design of this Thomas. Clearly this set is almost, think of it as like, a 50-50 split or a half and half. It's like Thomas in the countryside at the apple orchard, picking up apples and presumably, let's say, taking them to the docks for some type of shipment. And so we basically have a split Thomas down the middle here, where one side is devoted to the apples or the countryside, and the other is devoted to the, let's call it, the shipping Thomas or the dockside Thomas. I actually think this is a very well designed Thomas. It's a little bit cheeky in the sense of like, hey, it's a Thomas for the country and a Thomas for the industrial side of things. I am a really big fan of that box that says number 1 on there. I think if you look at that picture, Thomas is facing this way. He has the boxes on this side in that promo image. Whatever. I don't, that does not ruin this for me. But, I thought it was a very weird choice on that image to cover the number 1 because, think of the identifying aspects of Thomas. He's blue, he's small, and he has the number 1. Like he's always, with the exception, of course, of, the LBSC Thomas with number 70. I get that. But what Thomas is best known for is short blue, number 1, and the fact that they continued that on with the box there is very, very clever, and you can even see the original number 1 peeking out behind it. So it's like we kind of have like Apple Thomas and like Post Office Thomas, which is a bit funny. Let's take a look at the facial expression here. I've said it countless times. The facial expressions on these engines are really, really important. I guess my biggest thought or my question to you is this like a classic Thomas face? And honestly, like, I don't think so. This does not invoke a facial expression. It does not remind me of a facial expression I've seen before with Thomas. Probably in the CGI series, he made some type of face like this. So he's got one eyebrow kind of cocked upwards, and it is a little bit of a it's a little bit of a cheeky face, I'll say. And he's kind of like his mouth is offset a little bit. You know, it's kind of like a pondering Thomas, or there's actually a Thomas that somewhat reminds me of this. It's a Trackmaster Thomas from back in the day, I think from the bridge jump set. It's not exactly like this, I'm not saying that, but it does kind of invoke like that half winking expression. I think the Trackmaster Thomas is more of a determined Thomas, like let's get down to business. This is more of a, you know, I'm so sorry for this pun, but how about them apples pun? Like literally, like that's like, it sounds like somebody told Thomas like some really interesting information and he's like, that's interesting. Again, how about them apples? I promise you that was not planned. That just came to mind here. So in terms of this being like a good Thomas face, I would have to say I think it is. But I definitely prefer, you know, the smiling face that is currently my channel icon in terms of, you know, best Thomas faces we've seen from this line. I don't think it's a bad Thomas, and I think we should be thankful that we did get some type of special expression on here, because back in the classic Thomas Wooden Railway days, up until 2017, you can bet your bottom dollar the Thomas might have had some type of artwork or something going on there, but you know that face would have just been that classic smiling face. And if we were reviewing that, you know, 8 years ago, let's say, we would have been like, this is a great Thomas, but it needs a special face. So I don't want to complain too much because, hey, we did get a special face. This is a really nice Thomas. Yeah, how about them apples? Really like this Thomas. I think the cargo cars here, I don't know. I've just, you know, speaking honestly, I've just never really been a super big fan of these cargo cars. I think it's because maybe I come from an era where I'm just used to that classic cargo car design where the sides were a bit smaller. And I mean, you know, in classic Thomas Wooden Railway, I mean, we got so many of these sets or packs with those cargo cars. And so to kind of see something, you know, that in a way iconic change to something like this is still taking me some time to get used to. One thing I've always thought was interesting, it's like the engines get, they get special wheels and then the rolling stock gets different wheels. And I noticed that with the Nia pack. Nia comes with like a little van in her release. And again, it's like, it's almost like the opposite wheels. It's like these wheels have sort of an indent to them where the print goes, and then these are the exact opposite. It's more flat or outward facing. A purple cargo car, though, I mean, off the top of my head, for classic Thomas Wooden Railway, I don't know if we ever got a purple cargo car, so that's kind of cool. It is labeled Sodor Shipping Company, and I will say that's an advantage to having bigger sides here, is that you can put some artwork and more details on the side here, whereas the old cargo cars, the sides were so short. I mean, the main focus was honestly on the piece of cargo they were carrying, because the side was about like that length right there. We did not have like this arch or anything. And I would have to presume when it comes time to play with these toys, maybe there was some type of study done or something where the higher sides were better for playtime. It helped keep the piece of cargo in the cargo car better. I mean, that's just theorizing. So this one is labeled package car, and this one's actually labeled apple car. So I think if you wanted to be correct, you would put this piece of cargo in there. It actually has two different sides, which is really, really great. And I think that's my question to people. Would we rather have like that iconic like Sodor Shipping Company, Sodor Package Company car, cargo pieces that we got dozens of over the years? Or would we rather have something like this where it's almost like the outside of the package or outside of the cargo piece is maybe like transparent, you're able to see inside? Or, you know, this is, I think it's more designed to be like, hey, in this cargo car, you can fit like 3 packages or 2 packages. I kind of like both for different reasons. But as somebody who's been doing a lot of selling on eBay in the last year, I think I actually am a big fan of this piece, because boxes and shipping and all that is very on my mind nowadays. So even the colored scheme, it's like a black cargo piece with the purple, is actually not bad. I think I'm still kind of just getting used to the fact that this is what cargo cars look like nowadays, because for decades, cargo cars, you know, they all looked the same. They had one specific design with a black chassis, and the only thing that changed was the color. And of course, if you bought it in a specific set, the piece of cargo would change. The other cargo car that's included here is, it's still labeled Sodor Shipping Company, which is interesting. So presumably, I guess the home for these cargo cars would be the docks. But it's still labeled Sodor Shipping Company. However, this is supposed to be the Apple car, as noted on the bottom there. So the piece of cargo, again, is brown, but it is actually, it's not symmetrical, which is nice. I think that's a nice touch that should be appreciated here, is that we did not simply just print two things of the 2 stickers on the same side. The apples are in different configurations and stuff, and it looks like some of them have been cut in half, and they look like really good apples, I gotta say. Again, so we got yellow here. I don't really understand the colors, because when I look at the buildings that were included that go in their respective areas, I think this is how it's supposed to be. When I finally get this set up, I think shipping is going to be on the left and Apple's going to be on the right. So we have shipping over here, Apple right here. Not a whole lot of color, you know, I guess like color symmetry is not the right word, but there's really not matching colors going on here. It's more like brown and blue, and maybe red and blue, and it's like yellow and purple. So like they're kind of aligned, but not really. So anyway, I don't really fully understand the choice of colors there, but maybe there isn't supposed to be like any great design. The point in all of this, though, is that Thomas has a nice train of cars to carry here. I think one thing that we're sorely missing from this line is some type of brake van or caboose. I think that would, you know, I don't think we're really going to see any new molds of stuff released. Like we've had Thomas for a couple years, and then these are just repaints of some other items we've gotten. I think if this set had come with a caboose or some type of end piece here, we'd be in really, really great shape. Let's actually take a closer look at the little buildings here. So for all intents and purposes, there's not a whole lot going on here. It's kind of like this felt roof that is attached to the top by a couple of screws. And I guess we're just supposed to imagine that this is some type of apple orchard building. And then we get the exact same here with the Sodor Shipping Company. You know, when you look back at the decades of, you know, dockside buildings and cranes and storage sheds that we got for like a docks area in Thomas Wooden Railway, this is definitely one of the more forgettable ones. There's really not a whole lot going on here. I would have liked to have seen a little more effort put into this area, and the fact that they didn't even bother to print the I want to call them titles, but they're not that. You know, the signs on the other side is a bit puzzling. Like, I think that would have been really, really simple. The felt is definitely an interesting choice, because there is this plastic piece underneath, but maybe they're thinking in terms of play, like this will stand up a little bit longer. Or it could simply just be a cost-cutting thing. These blank sides, however, they're a bit of an eyesore. I would have liked to have seen, again, just more effort as a whole put into these little buildings here, because these are one of the few tangible things in this pack, and, you know, they can be moved around and Thomas can crash into them and they can fall over, and they're just, frankly speaking, really not that impressive. I'd like to, since this is an unboxing video, I'd like to take the time to unbox, or unwrap, I should say, some of these pieces of track. Like I said, I was really impressed with the presentation inside the box. I thought that was really well done. So with the new Thomas Wooden Railway line, we do have like these track to surface ramps, which have been prevalent for a really long time. However, they're plastic this time around, and the buffers are a little bit different, or excuse me, the buffers are a little bit different. They kind of sit, I don't know, they're just more flush, I guess, with the track, but they're secured in there very, very well. And then this is what I was talking about. We do have some Thomas Wood adapters here, which is, it is certainly surprising. The last Thomas Wood stuff I think we got, don't quote me on this, we had some stuff released in 2020. I remember like Edward, Henry, and Toby, and maybe Etienne. But then 2021, we got a 2021 day out with Thomas, and honestly, that might have been the last. And then by the next year, 2022, that's when this stuff rolled out. So they are still supporting it. But if I had to guess, this is probably just leftover connection pieces from when the line originally launched close to 3 years ago. And I think a lot more people would have had Thomas Wood. I've never really understood the plastic, adapters, for lack of a better term. Like, this is a Thomas Wood adapter, but then we have like these male pieces here, and making them plastic, it does allow for the opportunity for a little bit more detail. Honestly, that looks like brick there. Honestly, these remind me of like road pieces, if I'm being honest, like, a cobblestone road or something like that. I've never understood, why they would not just make these adapter pieces wooden like we've saw for years before. If I had to guess, it always comes down to money. So making a few of these adapter pieces out of plastic and not wood probably saves a few dollars here and there, which, again, it's always what it comes down to, it feels like. When you actually take a time to look at the set, we actually don't get like too much track, which is a bit of a shame, because where we would get a bunch of track is those turn areas, like the 180-degree turn areas, and those are completely ingrained in those boards that I'm going to show off here in a little bit. So I actually am a big fan of this style of track. It has like the Thomas logo at the top. There's some sleeper designs and everything. There's no road on the back because, for example, like I guess we got Kevin as a character, but man, we didn't even get Birdie or anything like that, or any version of Sir Topham Hatt's car. So what little Thomas Wooden Railway track we get with these packs is definitely appreciated. But I think for the price of what this item sells for, some more standalone track would have been great as well. Here is one of the pieces, one of the turnaround pieces, and this is what I was talking about. If it wasn't this, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to call it like a table piece, because that's kind of what it reminds me of. There is a lot of opportunity here. We could have had, like I said, almost more than 180 degrees of curves here, and that's completely dismissed in favor of this table piece. Sorry, that was very loud. And then we would have gotten some type of crossing piece here that we saw for many years in the classic Thomas Wooden Railway line, but not this time around. So I think this is. Again, I think this is a cost-cutting measure, but I actually really like the way it's done. They took the time to print the stuff. There's like a duck pond, like I said earlier, and, oh, okay. So I didn't even really notice these indents here, but I think what you're supposed to do is actually put the little building right there, and it has a little place to live. That makes a lot more sense versus I was expecting it to be kind of a free-floating piece. However, this, like, you're telling me that this is an apple orchard. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more emphasis here. I mean, maybe just like we had apple trees for so long in the Wooden Railway line, some apple crates. I'm thinking of that small apple crate that came with the Coldy and the Apple Orchard cars. Just some more stuff that sticks up. Like the painting and the design on the board itself is really, really nice, but it is completely flat, and you don't really. Like, if I showed you this at this angle, it's like, oh, it's just a building. And you don't really get to see the cool artwork until you look at it, from like a bird's eye view or from like a helicopter's point of view. So I think having a couple of miscellaneous pieces, they don't even have to be, they don't even have to have a home, if this makes sense, like with this little indent here. But just like apple trees or apple crates or workmen or something like that to kind of spruce up this area would be much appreciated. And I do think this little indent area is nice, but if you lose this house, for example, then it looks like this. And maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but that's kind of a little bit awkward. I think I would have rather have just had this be like completely flat all the way through and painted, and you can just place the house anywhere. That's just my thinking there. I do have one more patch of curves. So we do get some curves because there are, you know, Thomas somehow has to make his way to the docks. So I feel similarly about the curves like I do the track. Wish we got more of them because you can actually take the curves and do stuff with them and build an actual layout. And I think that's what's been lacking with a lot of Thomas merchandise lately is like you buy the set, you buy the figure 8 motorized set, but if you want to expand your layout, like there's so many like made, like specialty pieces, like made to order pieces, I guess, that it makes it really hard to almost think of it as like sandbox mode in a building game where you can just take these and create, you know, whatever you want. I have the other side, I should say, and it's kind of attached to this. There is I'll flip it around so you can see, it is like wired in here, but it should come loose. There we go. Okay. Man, it has been a hot minute since I've unboxed a Thomas Wooden Railway set, just in general, but of this magnitude as well. So here is the design for what is supposed to be, I think, the dockside set. I mentioned this road here, like I guess you'd bring in Kevin or something like that, but it's not even an official crossing area. It's just part of the printed design that went on here. So looking at this, you know, you have the apples from the apple orchard, you have crates off to the side, some generic pieces. Is that a dog that's sleeping right there? You guys see that? I think that's a nice touch. Indents where the building's supposed to go. That's the thing, since it's flat and you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, there's really no wrong way to look at it, but some type of like carrying cargo piece, like a wagon. Yeah, I think that is a dog. That is a nice touch. It's like looking at like a book full of Easter eggs or something. Maybe this is the best view we can get. So I will say, you know, putting these next to each other, these are really well done. Like they did take the time to give some really nice designs there. I think it's just up to personal interpretation if you like your Thomas toys being presented like this. You know, like would you rather have all these curves to make your own thing, or you kind of have to play within the playground that Fisher-Price has given you here? I think that's what it comes down to. I personally am a fan of this, but again, I think, oops, that didn't work out well. I think this, so it has indents, but it doesn't stay in there very well. So I think we could have seen something a little bit better in this area. One other quick thing I want to do before I start putting this set together is let me just show off this board, like for lack of a better term, board, or it's Cranky's little area. And if you want to, you can take those screws that were attached to Cranky and you put them in here, and I really do believe this is the same piece, the same board that we got. Another thing that's missing from that Cranky set is actually some type of carrying apparatus if you wanted to slide an engine onto it and Cranky would to lift them up. So it's basically kind of like a watered down version of the Cranky destination, but you still get Cranky. I mean, you get Cranky, you get the piece of track he's attached to, and then there is a set of switches here built in, which is really, really nice. And even the design has some apples already there. I remember seeing this when I got the Cranky thing. Sorry for the bad angle, but it's like that. It's like that seagull is perched on, like, you know, a mooring post or something, and there's a cat there looking at it. Again, really nice touch. Like, you know, there is some love put into these toys. Some crabs coming up trying to take over those crates. There are a few things. If you look at this really closely, it's like, oh yeah, ingrained track. Cranky goes there. It's the docks. Boom, move on. You know, it's kind of like playing I Spy. You know, don't want to move too quickly past these items because there are a few things. So I think the next step is to actually put this set together. And I really don't know on my, this is a standard Thomas Wooden Railway train table. I actually don't know if the set is too long to fit on the table, because in the current iteration of Thomas Wooden Railway, they actually don't sell a train table. And so I'm curious if this set actually fits on here, but I guess that's what we're going to see. I'll take a closer look at Cranky, do a little bit of research, see if it's any different, but let's actually put this set together and see what it looks like. All right, this is what the set looks like when it's all been constructed, and actually it really did not take me that long of a time to put it all together. I needed to look at the instructions to kind of get some clarity as to how this area around Cranky worked, but once I got that done, it was like, well, you have this circle area here, and this circle area here, so you just kind of put the remaining pieces left there and move on. So yeah, I think we should all take a moment and just kind of be in awe of the fact that this is the largest new Thomas Wooden Railway set we've received for this line. The previous large set was just that figure 8 set with Thomas, and honestly, like, it's pretty small and there's not a lot going on there. It's definitely meant as a starter set, whereas this, I think we can confidently say, is like it's not a beginner set, it's more of like an intermediate set for sure. So I did run over and take a look at the Cranky that was included by himself, and yes, that is the exact same Cranky. Even on this piece here with the apples and stuff, I think that's just like a pure coincidence. I don't think they ever had this set in mind, but yeah, this is the same piece that comes with Cranky by himself, and this is the same version of Cranky, the same detailing on the sides. The biggest omissions is the fact that there's no bolstrode, there's no carrying, there's no actual carrying, thing for Thomas, and there's no real hook there. So, like I said, it's kind of like a light version of Cranky, or like a diet version of Cranky, or something like that. And I have absolutely no proof for this claim or this theory, but the way this is set up, I would have to say that this set was probably born out of the fact that there were maybe some extra Crankies they want to get rid of, and this was the best way to do it. So yeah, when the set is assembled like this, I mean, you do not get, unfortunately, a whole lot of freestanding track like this. You kind of have these circle areas that double you back to where you came from. So in terms of actual track that you could use in another, layout or some type of design, you really have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 non-plastic pieces and a few of these pieces laying around, but that's basically it. So this set is not a set to buy if you're looking to get extra pieces of track. I think your money would be better spent actually going for one of the track packs if you can find it. So let's talk about this set. It is impressive in terms of its overall length. It covers a decent amount of space. This is a stock standard Thomas train table. I don't have the dimensions off the top of my head, but the set does fit. That was actually a concern. And it's not a tight fit either. We got a little bit of room on the side here. I don't know if that was done intentionally, but if you do have a standard Thomas Wooden Railway play table, it will fit on that, which is really, really nice. I've talked about Thomas and I've talked about the cargo cars at length, and just kind of looking at the playability here. I do think it's well done. I think the biggest points of interest are going to be these crossover areas, leaving a cargo car here, Thomas coming around, potentially smashing into it, something like that. And it's just basically, honestly, this would be a pretty entertaining loop for a battery-powered engine if they still sold those. Because the battery-powered engines, from what I remember, they can traverse this stuff, but wooden railway battery-powered engines were always very fickle, and they would come off the tracks or get stuck quite a bit. So, and then this would actually be another area. They would probably find their way off into the switches and all that fun stuff. So, there is a lot to like in this set. However, I will say it does feel a little bit hollow or empty, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. One is there's just not a lot, I talked about world building in that Celebration Engines pack, and this is a step in the right direction, but it just feels sort of empty here. We have the cargo cars and the cargo pieces which you can place at their respective locations, but there's no people, there's no trees, there's no other, actual, I talked about great designs on the flat, boards, but, just looking at it, it's just Cranky's really tall, and honestly, if it wasn't on this play table with the green grass and stuff, I think it would be more shocking at how kind of bare it is. I think little things that could have been done to spruce up this set. I talked about the apple trees or like apple crates in this side. And then, yeah, just maybe some more, maybe there were those plastic crates where you could store the Sodor cargo pieces. You know, just something like that. Like there just needs to be a little bit more going on here besides like these very flimsy buildings. Yeah, so, and I think that also comes down to, you know, like I've always said, it always comes down to price. So this set is $100, $100 US dollars. And I think, you know, unless, especially if you have Cranky already, let's say you're a diehard Thomas fan and you went out and bought Cranky 2.5 years ago, like, is it worth spending, you know, triple digits on this set? And I think that's a decision you're going to have to make for yourself. You know, now I have an extra Cranky. Okay, like, that's cool, but, you know, I already had Cranky. This time around, I don't even get Bolstrode. And that's the thing is, like, I actually believe that the entire previous Cranky pack should have been included in this set with, you know, the thing on the magnet and Bolstrode. I think, like, you place Bolstrode on here, and with just a few more things to do, and it actually starts to fill up the area really well. When talking about the price, you know, I was going to say, you know, the Cranky pack starts at, its retail price is $65. But it's kind of comparing, pardon my pun, apples to oranges, because, you know, we don't get, you know, Bolstrode. It's like a light version of the Cranky pack. So you can't really say, well, this is $65 worth here because that included Bolstrode. This is more like, I'd say this is more like $50 right here, or maybe even less. So you're telling me that the rest of this set is worth $50 to bring it to $100 total. You know, Thomas is, you know, between 15 and 20. The cargo cars, I don't really know how to assign value to cargo cars because, I mean, they're cool, but they're like the cheapest piece of rolling stock to make. And then again, it's like, okay, you have these nice high quality table pieces here, but then the buildings that are included are honestly kind of a letdown. It's like, how do you assign, you know, and what I'm about to show you, like this, that's $50, like right through here. I don't really know how you can say that's worth $50. That's just me speaking honestly. I think the thing with Wooden Railway, though, is that you buy it for the quality. It's going to last a lifetime. It's going to last being beat up. And, you know, whereas there are some other, you know, merchandise lines out there that have Thomas's name on them that may not, you know, last that long. I think, however, you know, the problem is it's like actually convincing people to buy the stuff. You know, I grew up with Thomas Wooden Railway, and it was always seen as like a premier toy line. Like, yes, it was more expensive, but you kind of got what you paid for. Like, imagine buying a toy that lasts a lifetime. Like, that's a pretty good deal. It's like you buy it once and you buy it for life. Like, that's a really cool sentiment. However, nowadays, I think it's harder to convince people to kind of take that risk. You're almost like investing in Thomas Wooden Railway. Like, yes, it's $100, but you're not going to have any issues with it. You know, the motorized stuff, like the motors could wear out, or the metal trains, you know, I've never seen it, but like, you know, they could fall apart or whatever, something like that. Wooden Railway, you are not going to have that problem. Like, you know, I always think back to that Leo Kim video where he threw wooden railway trains in a cement mixer and Thomas survived. And that's like really, really impressive. And even though it's been, you know, even though this is like a new wave of Thomas Wooden Railway, I still believe they are made to a very high quality that it could survive something like that. I think the biggest problem is actually convincing parents, you know, to take the risk and be like, hey, it's $100, but like it's really, really well made. I think parents nowadays are more like, I'd rather just go for the cheaper thing. And if it breaks, I buy something else. Like, it's almost like short-term, you know, wants over long-term investments. And the reason I'm thinking this way is because at Day Out with Thomas a couple of weeks ago, there was the circle set, or the figure eight set, excuse me, on display. And seeing it sit there with the Thomas and the cargo car in that little itty bitty section of track, you know, the figure eight, basically one of these, with the Lupa track right here, almost like putting this and this together with a Thomas and a cargo car was $50. Seeing that sit there on the table and watching people walk by and kind of overhearing people's comments, like it is unfortunately expensive. Like it's a very small set. And again, you can sit there and argue, well, it's high quality and it will last forever, blah, blah, blah. But it's also $55 plus after tax. And seeing it sit there with its small box and how little space it takes up, it would probably take up, this area right here almost within, before we get to the crossings here. It was actually kind of staggering watching people, kind of look at it. And I think it's like, they just don't want to spend that. It's like spend $55 on a starter set, or you spend 20 or 25 on a motorized set that is a figure eight and kind of does the same thing. So I think the biggest issue with new Thomas Wooden Railway and getting people to buy the stuff is actually like convincing them like, yeah, it's going to last forever. It's made really, really well. Like this is a really solid piece of wood, and unless you like take a chainsaw to it, it's not going to break. Like it shouldn't break. And if it does break, you should reach out to Fix Your Price, because that's not supposed to happen. I think the biggest issue is actually convincing people that the toys are worth the money. This set, when the pictures of this set leaked, I had to take a moment and be like, okay, if this set actually releases, am I going to buy it? Because I already have Cranky, and yeah, it probably comes with an exclusive version of Thomas, but there's not a lot of standalone track. These circle areas are not that impressive, just being honest. So I bought this set more out of my love for Thomas Wooden Railway, more than like, oh yeah, I'm going to get so much cool stuff out of it. I'd say this set is a slam dunk if, you have like a little engineer, for example, and, they've shown signs of liking Thomas Wooden Railway in the past, and, maybe it's a birthday present or a Christmas present, and you go with that. However, I think I will have to say, if you already have Cranky, and let's say you spent, $65 on Cranky, I don't know if I can justify you spending, what is that, $35 more and getting a second Cranky, and kind of just getting this lackluster stuff on the side. I think $80 is a more reasonable price point for this set. If it was $80, I think like it'd be like, yeah, slam dunk. But I wouldn't say, $100 is not completely out of the ballpark, but you just need more stuff going on here. You need the apple trees, you need figures, like where's Sir Topham Hatt in all this? This is kind of a moot point, because I think we've all kind of realized we're not going to get new molds of characters. But man, this, like, the exclusive version of Thomas here really is great. But like, I think honestly what would save this set in the short term is if they had just included Salty. Again, very unrealistic, because I don't think we're going to get a Salty in this line. But let's say it came with Thomas and the two cargo cars, but it came with a Salty, and then you can kind of give like Salty the package one and Thomas the Apple car. Like, I think that would really save this set. And Salty would, in fact, be an exclusive item. I think that would actually be the way to go. So, as it sits right now, there needs to just be like a few more things to make this set fully worth it. Maybe it's including Bulstrode. Maybe it's fully including the Cranky pack, because then that's $65 right there. Whereas now it's like the diet version of Cranky, and it's more like $50, and you're trying to justify $50 for the rest of this stuff here. So I don't think this is a bad set. I'm very happy it released. I probably sound very ungrateful right now, but $100 is a lot to spend. And this is not like a big set or a deluxe set by any means. I used the term intermediate set earlier, and I think that's where this set kind of lies. And so for $100, I think back to what sets used to cost, 10 years ago, let's say, and the intermediate sets were always kind of like, $75 to $100, like, and $100 being on the top end of that area. And basically like $100 or more, you started to get into the bigger sets with bridges and tunnels and turntables and whatever. And so I think this set, as it sits now, is at the very top of its acceptable price range. And it would be hard for me, like if I was sitting at Day Out with Thomas, for example, at that table where let's say this set was on display there, trying to convince people that it's worth $100. Like, I don't know if I could do that. I do think it's a better value than the $110 Tidmouth Sheds. Like, Tidmouth Sheds is really cool, but it has like one simple loop of track and comes with Percy. And so I think if you were choosing between the two, like let's say you don't have any Thomas Wooden Railway and you're kind of deciding for your child like which way you want to go, I think this is a better use of your money than the $110 Tidmouth Sheds, simply because there is a little bit more to do. But that's crazy. You put the Tidmouth Sheds on this table right here, and that's $200, and we're almost to the pricing of, you know, you add $50 more on top of that, and we're talking about Sodor Story Collection sets from 10 years ago with, you know, some exclusive characters and items and destinations we've never seen before. And the stuff included in this set really just doesn't, I would say, just doesn't present the same value there. So this set, I would say the Celebration Engines pack that I previously reviewed, that is a slam dunk for me. For $60, you get some classic Thomas characters and their Celebration outfits. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, the fact that it's tied to either the 40th anniversary of the TV series or the 80th anniversary of Thomas and Friends as a whole, that makes a lot of sense. This one, especially if you've already bought Cranky and you have, you know, let's say you already have a Thomas and a cargo car, I think this one is a bit more like to be determined, TBD. It's going to have to, you yourself as the consumer, you're going to have to decide, you know, do you want some duplicate things? Because you are going to get some duplicate things in this. I can't imagine this set going on sale or being reduced anytime soon, but I think if you're on the fence, maybe you just keep an eye on the Fisher-Price and Mattel website for the time being. And, you know, this set may sit up there for a while, but at some point, you know, if they need to move it, we're going to see, you know, the price decrease. And if it's still free shipping after that, then I think that would be the time to grab it. So in my opinion, the Celebration Engine set is like a yes, get it now type of thing. You know, don't delay on that. It's really nice. I'd hate for people to want to buy it, but then it to sell out or something like that, and then you're stuck without it. This set is more something where I am content maybe letting it sit for a while. Like, I don't necessarily need it. Like, I would like it. I want it, but maybe I don't need it. And so maybe you'd let it sit for a while. So anyway, that's my very diplomatic response to whether this set is a good deal or not. I think, you know, just a few small changes would actually save it. If these buildings were better, if we got some trees or something like that, you know, or some extra cargo pieces, or I mean, even just Salty, just like right here. Just Salty, I think this set would be almost a must-buy to get an exclusive character. Spending $100 on an exclusive character is another story, but, you know, you can kind of tell I'm starved for more Thomas Wooden Railway items, so I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful, but I think the best way to put it is that this set is not as much of a slam dunk as the Celebration Engines pack. So anyway, I think that'll do it for this video. I'm still in love with the characters we've gotten here. I think it is basically it is a bigger version of a starter set, and that's kind of what an intermediate set is, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think, you know, you just, unfortunately with Wooden Railway, you just gotta pony up and pay the big bucks for it. And I can sit here with all of this behind me and say, yeah, it's a great deal, you know, like, go ahead and, you know, take some, you know, go into debt buying it, and all that. But like, you know, you as the consumer just have to decide if it's something worthwhile and, you know, something you want to spend your money on. And that's the issue, is I think a lot of parents are like, I think I'll go the route of the metal trains, you know, formerly the push-along trains, or the motorized, or the minis. And this is definitely like a premium toy that, you know, just takes a little bit more consideration and thought into whether you want to buy it or not. But that aside, I am still super glad that we have more new Thomas Wooden Railway items to take a look at. It has been a pleasure unboxing this, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the journey we've been on for the past several minutes now. So I think that'll do it. Just as a reminder, I reviewed the Celebration Engines pack, which is its own separate video if you're looking for the companion piece to this. And both of these items, as of the making of this video, are exclusive to the Mattel website, the Mattel shop. So you would have to go there and purchase them on that website versus looking for them on Amazon or in other stores. So that's going to do it for me, friends. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you on the next one.